Hello, everybody, and welcome to our tech session about CI/CD test pipeline and testing in Trustpoint. Um, Today I'm here with Sven from achelos. Hi, Sven.
Hi.
Who is our expert in this field in the project. And Sven will tell us today about what he did in the past month and how the CI/CD framework and test framework in Trustpoint looks like. So first of all, thanks, Sven, that you're here with us, and tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you doing?
Yeah, so I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee with a master's degree in mathematics, and I also graduated from the FH Aachen University of Applied Sciences with a master's degree in applied mathematics and informatics. And right now I'm working as a software engineer, test engineer at achelos, and yeah, basically doing software testing.
Nice. So, Sven, the stage is yours. Tell us more about CI/CD and testing in Trustpoint.
Thank you very much. All right. So today I want to talk about some CI/CD pipelines and the testing that I did for the Trustpoint project. The outline of the presentation is as follows. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about the CI/CD pipelines. Then I'm going to talk about the code quality checks we are doing in Trustpoint. As I mentioned, I'm going to explain the test plan and the report. And then I'm giving a little overview of the best practices and tips, and concluding, I'm doing the conclusion and next steps. So let's start with the CI/CD pipelines. As you can see here, we have a lot of CI/CD pipelines defined in the upper corner. So we have a multiple behave pipelines. We have one CodeCov pipeline. We have MyPy, we have PyTest, we have RUF. And the advantage of multiple pipelines is that with every pull request the developer does to our GitHub repository, we are triggering those pipelines and can assess the results quickly and then take actions. So the files of the pipelines or GitHub actions are located on the Trustpoint in the GitHub folder, the workflows folder, and then you can find the YAML files. So if you want to have a look, feel free. And an example GitHub action looks like this. I'm doing the fairly simple RUF example. So we're using RUF as a linter for our Python code. As you can see in line 4, we're triggering this pipeline on every pull request. And then inside the jobs section, we are defining a Ubuntu machine to run on. And then we're defining some steps. So we're first checking out the code, that the code is available on our machine. Then we're setting up the UV environment because we're using UV as a package manager for our Python setup. After this, we are running the RUF linting. So that's basically just run RUF check. And after that, if there was any failure during the RUF checks, we are uploading the artifacts or the RUF logs. The advantage of those actions or of the GitHub actions in general are that we have something like trigger events, so we can decide on which event we are triggering which pipeline. So, for example, if like one file changes, we can like define the file change and then we can trigger this pipeline, or as said, we can also just trigger every pipeline on the pull request, or we can also trigger the pipelines manually, for example, for for building a package. And we can run all jobs or all pipelines in parallel. So if a pull request is committed, we can just like trigger every pipeline and then can assess the outcome of those pipelines quickly. As said, sorry, we are using rough as linting and formatting checks. So for example, if you run rough, we have an example rule that we don't want to use unused imports. We are running mypy, that's for type checking in Python. There's an example which is called functure signature mismatch. That's just to be sure that that we don't run into problems in the production code. And then we also have PyTest, so we strive for a high code coverage with the unit tests. And this generally asserts the functionality of all methods. And we're also generating the coverage reports, and we want to have at least 80% code coverage. I documented everything in the test plan, which can be found inside the Trustpoint documentation, which is hosted on Read the Docs. Inside this test plan, there are the requirements described, the test cases, of course, and the approach to testing, among other useful chapters. Then we also have a test report, which is also located in the Trustpoint documentation, as well as you can download artifacts directly from the pipelines. So if there was, for example, the rough pipeline, as you can see, the artifact uploaded was the rough log when there was a failure. And also the test report holds all passing or failing test cases and all possible improvements to the code base. Here are some best practices for workflows. So we are using a reusable or a composite workflow or action, which is called setup UV, because we are using UV as package manager for our Django project. We need to set up UV the same in every pipeline. So the job just states that we have the step install and setup UV, where we are using the action from Astral, which just sets it up basically. This action also just takes the UV version from the pyproject.toml file, which is very useful because this is to ensure that we have the same version every time we're using the pipeline. Then we are going to set up Python, and then in the setup Python step, we're also using the Python version from the pyproject.toml file to again ensure that we are running the same Python version. If we want to run the database migrations, we are just setting the key run migrations to true. And then we can run the database migrations that is useful for developing, basically. Also, a tip is try to strive for a good documentation. So we try, in Trustpoint, we try to keep the documentation updated because documenting code helps other developers as well as other interested people. Also, it does really not matter if you're using Read the Docs, GitHub READMEs, or any other documentation framework. And the more documentation, the better. Without any clutter documentation, of course. So you don't need to document every getter and setter, but the more you document, the better is you will understand your own code, for example, and the code of others. To conclude, I want to tell you what we have accomplished right now with the testing. So we have a little bit of quality assurance. We have, of course, automation via the GitHub pipelines or the GitHub actions, and we have transparency for like everybody to see how far we are with the requirements and which requirements we already fulfilled and which features we already have inside the Trustpoint project. What's next? We want to create a more compact test report so that you can basically download a compact PDF file and assess every test we did, every every pipeline we did, and every asset which is uploaded to every pipeline. Then, of course, we want to improve the documentation further, and we want to finish the behave tests, which are basically integration tests. All right. Here I have some references we are using like periodically, and that's it for my side. Thank you very much.
So thanks for the nice overview and for the explanation, and also for your work in Trustpoint. So Sven joined us a few months ago and has driven the topic on his own responsibility, and which is quite nice because he built it up from the bottom, and now the whole team benefits from it, and we as a whole project benefit from it.
Great.
So
thank you.
Thank you, Sven, for this.
Of course.
Okay, so if you have any questions about what Sven talked about, feel free to contact us, and we're happy to get in exchange with you. So thanks, Sven, and see you the next time. Bye.
Bye.